have to really actually say welcome back. Here we are at the Liverpool Community Podcast once again with a new season, and we're setting it off with an old guest that used to do programs with us back in the day when we were in the original Recondo Studios. So it's really good to have him here, but it's also good to have him here now that we're starting out with Black History Month, because this gentleman is, somebody who I think has a lot to say and, a lot to add to what's going on with things as they are. So I would like to introduce my guest, James Diboe. How you doing, James?
Great, Chase. Great to be back on. It's been a while. 3 years.
3 years, bro. I know you couldn't even remember, but it's been like about 3 years since we were actually doing programs together. We were doing an early podcast, the Discovering podcast.
That's right.
Because you're an explorer. We should also say that you're actually a world traveler and stuff like that, and you've been doing that just for your own enlightenment and edification, haven't you?
Yeah.
And everything like that. We'll kind of like discuss these places that you've been in and still hope to go to. But in that aspect is that you've managed to continue doing your version of discovering, haven't you? So tell the audience what discovering is for you, like as a podcaster.
Exploring and uncovering things that are, I wouldn't use the word hidden. You could use the word hidden, but at the same time, something's only hidden till it's found. So I think the direction is the best way I can put it. Like example, I'm a type of person, if I see a lot of people doing the same thing, I know that's not for me. So when I decided to start promoting Indigenous peoples' African history, but African history, what they don't talk about, not the slave trade, colonialism, and
exactly.
the usual. So I found that more enlightening.
Yeah.
Because growing up, and if you are just told that, like, well, it's just slaves, the country Africa, or the continent Africa is no good, it's backward, and
it builds a particular mindset, doesn't it?
Basically, it's a negative. It's all negative. So at the end of the day, we need some positivity. Teaching people from young, give them some enlightenment, show them the good things of Africa. And at the same time, as far as the world traveling, exploring, Indigenous peoples, one thing that I found when I started discovering them is that's when it become more spiritual, I'd say, where they showed me a purpose of life. I'm not saying I didn't know a purpose, I knew a purpose, but at the same time, observing how the most naturalist people on the planet live, and they're like in a time machine where they're doing the same thing what they're doing 40, 60,000 or whatever years ago. So to be able to see that, and then obviously at the same time there's an attack on Indigenous peoples all over the world. As you know, you're from America, it starts Native Americans, the Aboriginal Australians, the Pacific Islanders, parts of Africa, as you know, South Africa and Namibia, and the whole place. But the thing is like, we need stuff to make us feel better. And I don't mean to romanticize, because sometimes there can be a lot of romanticizing about, just go back to Africa and you're fine.
Yeah.
Survive. Everything's going to thrive for you. It's not even as simple as that. Going for the holiday, it's simple like that. But going to live, and, it's all about, you're not going there to live to not really be around the people. You should be going there to connect with the people, because sometimes you can get people there because maybe whether they've got money or even not even that, they just want to just not mix with the local people for whatever reason. They don't trust them, they're not comfortable around them, they don't have a connection with them. But that was one thing important for me, to connect with the local people. How am I going to know anything about the country if I'm just mixing around tourist people?
Or if you're just in a 5-star hotel.
Or you're just in a 5-star hotel, you're not going to find out too much.
No, exactly. I mean, see, for me, my only experience of going over there would be going to Luxor, and everything. And in that aspect, it's like amazing place. And of course, I love the pyramids. I love the Egyptology or the mythology around it all and everything else like that. But as an American growing up, like you just said, my views of Africa was always like the poor side or the need for aid, where they would show you like videos of like kids with flies and all that other kind of stuff. And it's kind of like when you grow up with that, it's like you become indoctrinated with that thought, and it's kind of like you're not even thinking, I want to learn more. And stuff like that. But that has slowly changed. And we were just talking before we started about the movie Black Panther. And I think Black Panther, when it came out, like about, it would have to be like about 5-7 years now, I think, it really caused a shift in people's mindset, because they got to say, whoa, there's this really rich society. Now, unfortunately, the movie's played as a fantasy. I mean, Wakanda's not a real place. It's technology advanced and superheroes and all that. But for me, when with social media, watching it, I started seeing Africans from different areas start to put up their images of social media enjoying the film and the pride. And it made me realize that, wait a minute, hold on. I didn't see this part of Africa in that commercial about a desert, and dry lands and African safaris. The cities, it's like people who live just the same as we do. So you, being a person who's gone many times, I know you said your quest has been to connect with the locals and the people and everything like that. But you've seen this kind of lifestyle that has not been in the media.
Yeah. I know at the same time, going places, and if you don't connect with local people sometimes as well, you're going to be spending more. The local people can take you the best places to eat. They can take you on hour drives and stuff, and you will get a good price, for example, where you go through the tourist way, even to do exploring, to go meet some of the far journeys I've been on in Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, these places, Philippines. You need to connect with the people, because the price I got it for the driver to take me in was quarter the price on what the tour guides are giving out. So it's all about, it's not being cheap, it's saving money, not being ripped off when you don't need to be ripped off. Mm-hmm. Sometimes if you use your mind a bit, you're going to get further. And then also just being able to explore and learn about the cultures. And we talked many times about, you brought up to me a few times about pantheon gods and supreme being, stuff like that. Now, it can be complex, but I try my best to tell it in the simplest way. Yeah. Do people believe in a creator, a supreme being? Simple. These indigenous peoples, even all over the world at one time. So where's how I put it is, speaking to the Eta in the Philippines, they'll tell you, we believe in a supreme being. We believe in good spirits and bad spirits. And the good spirits, bad spirits, it's just the same as the physical world that we're living in, where the laws of opposites. Everything has an opposite. We have a left brain, a right brain. It's left, right. It's just the way it is, and people got to accept that. And it's nothing personal against what people believe in religion, or even if you just believe in science. At the end of the day, there's laws that govern the universe, and that's just the way it is. And that's something that don't change. No. Things can change, but the laws that govern this universe don't change.
Yeah.
So these are important things. So I'm just trying to stay in connection. Also interviewing Professor Carver the other day. We did a podcast on spirituality before religions. Absolute banger podcast. And I was waiting for him. I was trying to get him on for a while, because he's able to explain spirituality from a perspective of that's totally unpopular. So science is a quote, exact words he says. Science is seeing spirituality. Spirituality is unseen science.
Wow.
He broke that down in a way where sometimes amazing. It's key when people say it, you just hit the nail on the nut.
Well, speaking of that guy, I mean, we both share love and a friend who had passed, Renoko.
And 2021 August, yeah.
But I mean, tell us a little bit about Runoko Rashidi, right?
Yeah.
And because what I remember, one of the significant things I remember was his talk around the Olmec heads.
Yeah.
And and obviously for people who don't know about the Olmec heads, they're not like the Easter Island heads, the big giant Easter Island heads, but they're these these kind of like rounded heads that are very Afrocentric.
Yeah.
But they're not just found in one place. They were found in a lot of different places, weren't they?
Okay.
And everything.
So the Olmecs, we're dealing with Mexico now. That's what we're dealing with, Mexico. Two different parts. I forget the names, but two places in Mexico where I'm aware of them. I've got a cousin actually who's living out in Mexico, Jenny Lind, who I had on Discovering.
Yeah.
She actually visited a majority of the Olmec heads, because I think there's at least about 17, roughly about 17 Olmec heads. Now, Runoko Rashidi is excavated every single one of them. So Runoko's mentor before him was Dr. Ivan van Sertima. He was studying the Olmec, they came before Columbus, but he hadn't excavated every single one of them.
Yeah.
So Runoko took it that step further. And I think that's what's really about. It's about taking the steps further. Runoko, as you know, 125 countries in search of the global African presence. I mean, when I came across this man, I was already an explorer, a traveller, before I even came across Runoko. But when I came across him, and I'm watching his YouTube videos, I was like, well, I feel like I've got to meet this person.
And you actually brought him here.
Yeah. Like, I had a feeling that I'm going to meet this person, because this is not just a case of I'm getting information off him. There's a spiritual connection strongly here. And I'm a person, like, very spiritual. I don't believe anything's by accident. I think this whole totality is orchestrated, the whole orchestration, everything. I didn't meet you by accident. Impossible. No.
Yeah.
So, Runoko, the person he is as well, I was able to connect with him, relate to him. Like, I more relate to Runoko the way he's exploring the planet than a David Attenborough, for example, or say, some of these people where the BBC's backing them and ain't nothing's going to happen to them because they can go to these places safely. I've got to get on the buses by myself half the time, go 12 hours, 7 hours, and try to communicate with the local people who might not speak the greatest English. And at the end of the day, even on the night time when I reach the jungle in Thailand, I'm on the bus going there, not one person speaking on the bus. The minute I started showing them pictures on my phone of who I want to go and see, the whole bus was talking. They were on the telephones. We need to help this guy get in there. And most of them, probably nearly all of them, said they have never been in there. What am I doing going in there? Because they've never done. So to show someone in their own country, enlighten them to say, and they were very proud. And then even when I got off the bus, we had to get two buses. And when you get to the south of town, you're dealing with Muslim territory more so now. There's borders still, but it's mainly predominantly Muslim because it's the border of Malaysia area. So I had Muslims help me we're going to try and find you somewhere to stay. They were people concerned, And I was like, well, I've got to go to the jungle today. I don't want to go tomorrow. I was that eager because once I've got something in my head, that's it then. There's no... you can't even tell me there's a fire down there. I'm still going. I've got to look to see. So, that's one thing, connecting with the people. And communication, that's one thing I can say I've got the gift with. And like I say, I'm open-minded to all cultures. I think knowing different cultures is a brilliant thing. And that's what Runoko Rashidi did. He broke down the earliest black presence around the planet. He could be showing you Cheddar Man in the UK. He could be showing you the Olmecs. He's showing you Pacific Islanders in Fiji. I went to Fiji. And everything he said, everything was confirmed. He said they come from Africa, Lake Tanganyika, like I mentioned last time.
Yeah.
So it's important to get into the stories. And also, look at the documents as well. Go to the museums, speak to the people, speak to the chiefs. Speak to as many people as you can to get as much information. And that's what Runoko are connected with.
Well, think about it. The information is out there.
It's out there.
It's just like a media blackout, but unfortunately, that's how most of us consume information is through the media. But like for those who kind of like still read, can still find the library somewhere. I mean, the information is out there. So I mean, like as far as like places you've been, have you ever been to Mali or anything?
Mali,
Like that?
no, but that is definitely on the list.
Is it?
Definitely on
Yes.
the list. I've actually got a friend from there. I'm trying to
Really?
connect with him to go rather than just go, because I know if I connect with him, I'll be mixing with the local completely.
Yeah.
But I've got to see the Dogon if I go there.
The Dogon, yeah.
I'll visit Timbuktu.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't Timbuktu where one of the first libraries were?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because even though like the Library of Alexandria burned down, Timbuktu I heard was like one of the first libraries and stuff. And I mean, that's the amazing thing about like when we talk about language, because just because people speak another language, then they're like, oh well, they don't speak English and they're not speaking mine, or whatever, some of them do speak English, like in Libya. But in that aspect, though, is that the idea that philosophy and medicine and all these things came out of Africa and stuff, but we don't know about it, don't hear about it, and it's lost its kind of like touch because it's not explored on an educational level.
Yeah.
But you to be able to go there. So like when you actually go to these places, so you haven't been to Mali as you said, but do you actually try to visit like libraries, or I know you've been to temples and places like that, but do you actually
Not really many libraries. I've been
like
a few
sources of knowledge or anything?
yeah,
like
but I look
that?
for the source of knowledge, like in obviously you go into Egypt into their museums, the Cairo Museum.
Okay, yeah.
It's a library itself.
Well, no, obviously, yeah.
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So, and the kind of things you're going to find in there, like, example, I look at things like how old is the writing? So before I go to the museum, you look at like how old is writing. So before writing, there had to be a script. So I can look at the script in the Cairo Museum, and it'll take it slightly older, which it's going to be, than the actual fully writing system. I mean, look at Sumeria. They talk about it's got the oldest unicorn writing.
Sumerian,
Now-
Phoenician.
Now, theirs is the short chronology, not the long chronology. So it is the oldest in the short chronology, but not the long chronology.
Yeah.
So like I say, it's been a big rivalry. I was speaking to Robin Walker, April, just gone. We'll be getting back on. He's when I'm questioning about
he was
Sumeria.
another good guess you
Yeah.
had, yeah.
Well, he says, don't worry about Sumeria. We're coming for the Sumerians.
yeah.
But this is a long rivalry with Egypt and Sumeria. It's not rivalry, but just it's people making a rivalry where there's a back and forth connections. And I always like to use the word back and forth because it's going from, and it's a continuous trade. And intermarrying would go on with royalty and things like that. So the Sumerians, people like don't speak about the ancient Sumerians as like, oh, what happened to them and, stuff like that. But they were called the black-headed people.
Yeah.
Now, the key things with these is where I was able to make connections. A lot of the black folks in Asia that visited, all very short people. This is the key part now. So the small, diminutive black folks, they were also in Western Asia at one time. Sheikh Anta Diop has studied the skeletal remains, he studied the DNA, he studied everything. He's a genius, multi-genius, this man. So where he came up with the 3 books that I read of his, African Civilization, Myth or Reality. Another one, Civilization, was it Barbarism? And there's another one that I read, but you need to go through the whole collection of them. So when he's speaking about the people of Western Asia, he was saying these people are described as a short Negritic people.
Yeah.
The Negritic is what the Spanish and Portuguese refer to the people of Southeast Asia who are very short. So that's why they're using that word. So at one time, the people you see in the Congo, very short people, pygmies they call them, the Twa. And then also in Cameroon, the Baka people. Now, these same people, they're all over the world. And are these all the first oldest people? This is the key point. Are these short people the oldest people on the planet?
Yeah.
I believe so. Ranoko also believes so. We can't say 100%, but the people who live in Central Africa, even speaking to Kaaba, we believe that's the oldest. Now, most of the other people say Ethiopia is the oldest. The guy
because of the library, the Bible.
It's interesting, though. I more believe Central Africa, only because of the certain, like the Khoisan, they weren't from South Africa. They're in Southern Africa, aren't they?
Right.
But they weren't from there. They were from East Africa originally.
Right.
So what we know is that the people who live in those areas now, that weren't the Khoisan. So it's so deep explored.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
And it's to say that the Khoisan as well, they say that they are the ones who went into Asia first and explored. Yeah. That's another thing I'd question as well. Was it only the Khoisan? When it the Pygmies of Congo or in... So like I said...
Well, I mean, obviously it was like, because there was all that whole thing about how the continents were originally like one mass or something like that, you know, and everything. So this whole traveling thing, you had to travel over the Bering Strait and all that kind of stuff. But what about before then, you know? Just so we don't get lost in the sauce. I mean, so Black History Month, I mean, we know that here in Britain we celebrate Black History Month in October. In America, they celebrate it in February. As we often say, it's every day, isn't it? But, you know, as far as, like, knowledge is concerned or you know, when it comes down to, well, look, we pique people's curiosity. Do you know what I mean? And, I mean, like, I'll go back to movies and stuff where, you know, I was asking you about Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, who just did Sinners, which was like one of the biggest movies of the summer, that they were rumored and talking about one of their next projects, or their next project together, was going to be a project about Mansa Musa. So, I mean, obviously, I just think that, you know, with it being Black History Month, if you're going to talk about anybody, this is a name that should always be on everyone's lips at all times, because not just because he was known as the richest man in the world, he was the king of Mali, and everything else like that, but you know, because of what happened, excuse me, and the fact that one, his brother, I say Abu Bakr, you tell me what,
Abu Bakr,
you know, had sailed with 3 ships, a community of people on each ship.
Yep.
And this was what, like the 15th century? Was it
no,
or 13th century?
He's born about the 1300s, early 1300s, yeah.
And everything, but never came back. So obviously, you know, where did they go? Yeah. And everything else like that. And then while he was off doing that, Mansa actually kind of like, you know, went on a, how shall we say, like a pilgrimage, you know, like
to Mecca.
You know, like, well, I meant when, like in Egypt and stuff, where he was just giving out gold to everyone, and kind of like crashed the economy.
Too generous.
I mean, what's your feeling of Mansa, and I mean, like, and the things he's done just for Black History Month?
Absolute brilliant story, Mansa Musa. I mean, like you say, the richest man in the world ever. Before him, he was the richest man before him was actually from Ghana, ancient Ghana, you know, and then obviously he became the richest. So the main thing is Mansa Musa, you know, you have a brother, Abu Bakr, and, you know, supposedly taking that trip into the Americas, so many voyages. Now, the story of them didn't come back. Let's get in down to the legend myths, because when we say didn't come back, that's part of the legend myth. It doesn't mean he didn't come back, or maybe something happened along the way. We don't know. We can't pretend. But at the same time, how powerful Mansa Musa was, and when you, just like you said before about giving lots of gold away and I felt he was too generous
Yeah.
over there. That when he was going over to Eastern side, but on his own side, he was generous. But I'd say like, you know the words. You get some people say there was slavery in Africa. Yeah, let's break it down properly. Yeah, we have prisoners of war, right? It's completely different. Later on, they can have the freedom if they are right in that. And another one is servitude. You owe debts, so you're going to pay off the debt.
Yeah,
so,
indentured servitude.
yeah. So that's what we got to understand, because sometimes people compare it to the transatlantic slave trade, and you couldn't compare it at all. And also, there was some Africans who didn't actually know where they're being taken. They just know that they're selling them, they're doing business, and didn't know anything much more. But like I say, the times of Mansa Musa, he also, because his empire was so big, when you have massive empires like that, you also invite other people from, there was some Turks even, he had in his armies, and working, he had like people from Eastern Europeans as well, Slavs.
Yeah.
The Slav, yeah. So, and there was time with like Albanians, but it's interesting though, because I didn't actually realise that, but then when I realised that, every single empire, when they're at the peak, will always recruit someone from elsewhere. Doesn't matter what rank they are, whether they're high ranks or low ranks. That's what I found with empires.
Well, the thing about that is, because I'm pretty sure we're coming down to an end. But the thing about that is, you got to remember, in that time period, right, there was no black and white. It was only culture.
Yeah.
So it was only like your point of origin and where you were from. Like you were saying, like the Slavs and all that.
That's
kind
true.
of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but then also too is when you talk about the black-headed people or the people of darker skin tones or whatever, it wasn't something to become aware of. It was just like people, right, of a different culture, and then that means like if you were to become an emperor, if you were to become the president, if you were of society, there was no divide. And that divide, happened.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which is probably another story in itself.
But the Middle Passage, the Moors in Spain, this is where it begins when we talk about racism. Because 1492, they've expelled all the Moors, 1491, 1492. So before that...
Which is when Columbus was, yeah.
So the Moors were in Spain for like at least 800 years, or, say 711. But even before that, they were in Spain and Portugal. Not just the Moors that are connected to Islam, because the word Moor, the Romans are the ones using the word Moorish.
Yeah, it's Mauritians.
So going back to the times of the Carthaginians, Hannibal, when they were crossing over, they already had a word like for black, Moorish and Moor. And so for some reason... Yeah. The time of Islam, 711 times, the confusion come in because the Moors kind of become something different then. So you could even call Turkish people Moors. Anyone who's a Muslim Moor. It kind of changed. Now, in the English dictionary, going back to if you look at, they used to say Blackamoor.
Blackamoor, yeah.
Blackamoor in the UK, in Britain. But then it dropped from Blackamoor just to black. The Moor they give to the Arabs. So now people start getting confused about what colour are the Moors. I thought they were Arab. But it's just a big whitewash. But the good thing is now is we're able to teach people. We have platforms like this.
Yeah.
We're able to explore.
Conversations. I mean, that's what it is all supposed to be. It's like, wow.
I think if we could involve more people with these kind of discussions, rather than just like talk about sports or talk about things that are not really going to necessarily uplift us. We need to have some sort of program. But at the same time, I'm not one of them people who says, don't be talking about sport. Talk about what you want, but give some time for real education.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like that's the thing is I just think that I've often just in the past couple of years of, trying to think more about black excellence as opposed to, surviving slavery because we have Slavery Remembrance Day here, right? So, like in that aspect, is that, well, what about the successes? What about the achievements? Because, like, once we start changing the mindset of the young about the power of the people that came before them, the losses, the gains, that's where I think that we will start to bring back that unity that we initially had, which is what I was trying to say. When people was they weren't separated by the color of their skin.
Yeah.
And I just think that's the main thing, is like we all one people, and stuff and everything, despite where we come from. And where we come from should be the conversation, and not just the education, but the conversation of, oh, wow, so this is what you guys eat, or this is how you guys live, or this is why you wear hijab, or this is the kind of food, It's like those are interesting conversations that are based in curiosity and not in superiority.
I think as well, when you're trying to build with people, and we have to also be realistic. We can't work with anyone who doesn't want to commit, or doesn't want to follow the instructions. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like some people might just be involved with things for the wrong reasons, But at the end of the day, know thyself, know yourself.
Yeah.
That's what's so important. We got to know who we are. Know who we are.
But that means remember where we came from.
Memory. Stick with the ancestors.
I mean, James, like I said, I know for you this seems like a short conversation, but I just think that in short bites, this is what it should all be about. I would like to also say, maybe for February's Black History Month, come back, and everything like that. But let people know where they can find your program. I think I'm a guest on your latest episode, by the way.
Yeah.
So, how can people find the Discovering Show and the past shows that you've been doing?
Yeah, the YouTube channel, Culturelution. I better spell that.
You probably do.
CULTURALUTION. James Diboe. So basically, that's my YouTube channel. And I've interviewed done about 170 interviews or something like that. People from all over the world, some people indigenous, some people professors, like Professor Small,
stuff on Zoom.
All sorts of different people, But I give Chase the big thanks, give me a nice start, starting with season 1, Discovering. And it just popped off from there. So I give you thanks, good start. Being in the studio as well. I'd never been in the studio, and then it started understanding. I want to be more involved with knowing about how cameras work. I'd love to get into things like making movies, and documentaries, and that. But it's all skills.
Well, I also want to thank you, though, James, because you were very much a part of my enlightenment around myself and around history and around the stuff that, it was like I was awakened to a whole new reality, in our general conversations. And then when we continued it on with the Liverpool Black Men's Group Forum, where we had shows with them and everything like that. So, but once again, I want to thank you for coming into the studio and everything, and I hope that people will reach out and try to discover your show,
Culturelution.
Culturelution.
Yeah.
I don't know why he calls it that, because I can't even say it. Revolution.
Culture.
Yeah, that's it. You see,
Revolution and culture. I knew that was the reason why Phil was here. He's been quiet the whole show, and he's just been waiting for his moment to put me down. But no, not put me down. Set me straight. Is that what it is, James?
Because you know
what it is, culture.
He might be a person who understands root words.
Yeah. Okay, he understands root words and I don't. Thanks, James. But either way you look at it, please have a listen to the show. It's on Zoom and everything like that and everything. But thanks for coming in. And, you've been watching the Liverpool Community Podcast. Please like and subscribe. and please look out. And we also, if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll find the older shows of Discovering, because it has its own playlist.
That's it.
And everything. So you'll see James in video on our show, what we used to do. So thank you once again for
Give
joining
thanks.
us.
And one last thing, I'm looking forward to the podcast that you're going to be taking part in next Sunday, and a couple of group members. The topic will be, where's the cry for Africa? Basically, it's not saying that the world problems ain't problems, of course, but I feel like Africa gets left out of any sympathy.
Well, also too, there's a lot going on with that in the present day, which I don't want to talk about because I don't want to get demonetized. I don't want the police to come and hand me a note. You said something on Facebook.
Yeah.
What the
ridiculous
frick?
down there.
You know what I mean? I was what? Anyway, I said it and I didn't say it. No, I didn't.
Give thanks, my brother.
James, let's get out of here. So for now, we out of here.
Original peoples, discover them.
All right, man. Cool. When I say we out of here, we out of here.